Hello, viewers out there. You're welcome once again to Sports Orbit, reaching you from Leadership TV. My name is Afa Acho, and Salifu Usman is also in the studio with me. Salifu, welcome to today's edition of Sports Orbit.
Thank you, Afa.
All right, on today's edition of the program, we'll begin straight from the NFF. Recall that last week we had told you about the back and forth between the NFF and Super Eagles coach Jose Peseiro about a contract extension. At some point, it seemed as if the NFF had actually gave him two options: either you reduce your pay cut or you leave the job. But as it is now, I think maybe Peseiro has decided and felt it's better to take a pay cut than completely leave the job, and as a result of that, his contract has been extended. So Peseiro will lead the Super Eagles of Nigeria to next year's AFCON, of course, and he has also invited a list of 22 players for the Sao Tome and Principe class. So some people looks like Peseiro like discussing with a colleague yesterday. He said when people take this kind of options, it means because there's nothing out there for them. So he feels, well, if I don't take this job now, what else will I do? Even though I'm being owed a backlog of salaries.
Yeah, you are very correct. That colleague of course says the way it is. Absolutely, there's no job anywhere. Yes, there's job. Yes, there's job anyway, but it's depending on your pedigree.
Exactly.
And the pedigree of what we have seen in Peseiro so far. Absolutely, I think the best way to be, and it's better to have what you have than to let it off your finger, and that is exactly it. He has to succumb to the pressure from the NFF that I have to agree. But I think all the NFF will have also do better by letting Nigerians know what is the terms of this contract. Now, if I agree from the statement, agree on contract extension. I believe there are some nitty-gritties of the word that has to be done. Just okay, we are going to extend the contract and based on the agreement, based on the conditions I've given to me, I'm going to agree that.
But they didn't tell us how much.
They have to tell us, yes.
The pay cuts, how many percentage?
We were told he's paying 70,000 dollars per month. And I don't know how much the technical committee have asked him to reduce that cut. He had to reduce to 50, or I don't know how much they attend him to, or to come back to what his predecessor used to earn. Professor used to earn 60 per month. Whether they are asking to come back. But NFF should tell Nigeria because it is the taxpayer money that they are willing to pay. So the Nigerians need to know how much have they resolved now to pay him. That is my view, and it is necessary. There's no need to hide, even anywhere in the world. Once a contract, they tell you what is involved in the contract, let everybody know.
And then going to the list of invited players, for me, it's a full house. But for me, I feel we've qualified already for the AFCON. I think this should have been an opportunity to give a lot of new players a chance. But you still have a loaded squad, regular starters. For me, I felt with this kind of matches, you use it to try out some players who are yet to taste action for the Super Eagles.
Yeah, you are very correct. In as much as you want to maintain your winning streak and not to allow anything to rob your record. Yes, it should also be better. Most especially because what is in mind now is the AFCON proper condition, and also whatever you are using, you use this kind of a match to begin to experiment what you have and to prepare for the AFCON condition. So I expected just like I was hoping that I'm going to see a whole lot of new players, particularly even though our league is not on. It also will be an opportunity to bring more local league players to test them. Exactly. And particularly we are playing, not disrespecting to Sao Tome, not a too strong team. The first leg against Sao Tome was 12-0. And if you are going to play 12-0, 12-10, 12-2, 12-0, and if you are going to play a team that is called them almost more a dodging goal,
you can as well use the Chinese Eagles
away and they are home, so and they are coming home here. So it would have just used. Allow those big boys to rest.
I think so too.
Experiment, use second team or bring up at least probably two additions from the big boys. Probably like the captain, like Trans Aircons. Then bring some young players or some outside the football. Nigerians who are trying to have an opportunity to bring them to. When you have problem, yes, there may be a potential players for the Super Eagles and bring them to test, to use these opportunities to test them, not bring all your normal regulars in this one. Because if you look at the list, it is the same almost all everybody on this, except the invitation they sent them to the Victor of the Benfica guys, and then a bit of benefits of Bayern Munich, and then the gift Orban. The gift Orban is not even yes, in as much as he has not been regular for his survival. Yeah, his name doesn't seem new to the ears of the people that Nigerians are already aware of him, and even gift Orban, there's even a doubt whether he's going to come for the match or to talk about. He has already picked his actually worried about him at the moment. We're expecting him to move to Tottenham at the end of the day. So it will be an opportunity for Peseiro to bring more players and just see. But this match, nothing is at stake in this match. We have already qualified. Exactly. And at the same time, if you like whatever, even the Iba that crash out, I'm not disrespecting Sao Tome that crash out to the winner of the problem. We are still using Iba entire team to play this match against Sao Tome.
All right, we'll go straight to some other matters down, talking about rugby this time, where the Nigerian men's rugby team Black Stallions will face Kenya, Zambia, and Namibia in the Africa qualifiers for the Paris 2024 Olympics. The draw for the qualifying tournament slated for Zimbabwe was conducted at the weekend by Rugby Afrique. The two-day qualifiers will be held from September 16 to 17, while Nigeria's Black Stallions will begin their quest to compete at the 2024 Olympic event with the Soldiers of Kenya on September 16 before taking on Zambia and then the World Teachers of Namibia, respectively. Nigeria finished second at the pre-Olympic qualifiers in Mauritius earlier in the year, where they lost to Algeria in the final. The Black Stallions lost in the final to Algeria 24-5, having defeated Ghana 24-7. Nigeria is hoping to make it to the Olympics after shocking the world in 2014 by qualifying for the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow, Scotland, with Steve Lewis in charge. So hopefully the Nigerian team, rugby that is, will hopefully make it. But when you look at the likes of Kenya, which is also a rugby powerhouse, then of course Zambia, Namibia also. In fact, most of these South African countries, when it comes to rugby, they quite have a good pedigree.
Yeah, you are right. And at the same time, our team, the Nigerian rugby teams, since they're coming on board, Dr. Ademola, right? Yeah. As the president of the Rugby Federation in Nigeria, we are beginning to see, we are starting to see some changes and some improvement in terms of the development of the rugby league. And even first time when I was first shocked when I see the team progress from the preliminary round of the Olympic qualifiers when they went for qualifier in Mozambique, and here now going for the final round of the Olympic qualifiers. Now they have Kenya on their side, Kenyans and Zambians and Namibia to contend with. All they need to do is to perform well, and I hope that Ademola and his management and the technical crew of the team know what is because the target based on if I may quote the word of Ademola is to qualify for Olympic. Either people may say we just to qualify to go and make it, but yes, it's one thing first, then before you take over another thing. It's a step forward if you progress to the Olympic. To me, it's a bigger achievement, and I hope that we have a team. And if you look at our result at the preliminary run, in Zambia, like say, yes, losing to Algeria in the final, it is not to me. It's not a poor outing. Going by the calibers of the team we have to be before we meet Algeria in the final. And now at the final round, I think all you need to do is to ensure that we prepare the team well and all the necessary things and all the hurdles that will be on that. We'll try to remove all the hurdles and anything and give them all the necessary motivation to go into this competition. The good thing that we hope that we'll pick one of the tickets to the Olympics.
Very, very important. Well, to the new Minister of Sports, Senator John Eno, who has stressed the need for better and proper welfare packages and insurance coverage for athletes to assist them perform at optimal levels. He said, without the athletes, there will be no need for sports. Consequently, it's important to assist them compete in the best conditions possible. He said, welfare for athletes and insurance schemes rank among my priorities for sports in the country because the very essence of sports are the athletes primarily. Of course, a whole lot of things, and which, this thing, same colleague who were discussing with yesterday, like we always say, whenever sport ministers come on board, this is not the first time. Every sport minister always comes with big plans for the industry. That when he came, same thing, a lot of plans here and here. But how many was he able to execute before he left office? Now this one is coming. We're talking about insurance schemes and all of that. These are lofty projects, big projects. I mean, if you ask me, but can these things be achievable so that we don't get into a situation where we keep repeating the cycle whenever every new man comes on board? He makes all kinds of statements there. At the end of 4 years, you see that maybe the ministry is worse than where he met it before.
Yeah, as far you are right, this man, Senator John Owen Eno, from his biography, we saw he has no background concerning sports. And even him, he was furious when there's a reporter reporting that the farmer was appointed as a sport minister. Was furious about that way that if they were fair for him, that instead of calling him a farmer, attributed to him as a philanthropist, he was appointed as a sport minister. Well, for me, what I've seen him so far in the last 1 week, yes, he may not have a background in sport, but he's looked as somebody who is trying to learn, and as somebody who is very have his head down and very intelligent. Yes, sometimes you may not have a certificate in a particular field, but if you are learned to, if you are determined to make a difference, you definitely make a difference. But my only worry is that when you try to grab more than you can shoot, it will end up leading you to the wrong path. And I believe that John Ennon will not just toe the line of his predecessors who have came to promise a lot and give him nothing at the end of the day. Just like if you look at this way, if somebody somewhere say or athlete somewhere will say, yeah, that is a good one. For the first time we're getting the minister admitting that without they cannot be sport. Yes, obviously there's a sport because people are playing. If there's no footballer, there will be no football. And if there's no athlete, there will be no anything athlete. So because you see people who are acting, that is why you are seeking somewhere to administer it. So there must be a sport. So the primary focus on administration is those principal actors first, who are the athletes. So because without them, you can't sit here as a minister. Without them, you can't be a head of the president of the federal and this and that. Then having their welfare at the utmost, at the priority, to me is the ultimate and it's the utmost way to work. But just like I say, will you at the end going to give up your promise?
Exactly.
But can it be achievable? Yes, it's absolutely achievable. But how is that? But just like that king promised a lot of things. At the end of the day, there was even the time that they began to give money to some former athletes who are retired and stuff. But it's not about giving former athletes and giving them. It's about making a program, or is a program that will make the decision easily for them to try. And if you are having athlete welfare insurance schemes and you are just talking, sometimes you just it's easier to say than done. And we all to me, what I even expect the ministers, and if I'm their shoe, rather than talk, let the action speak for themselves. Let athletes quietly begin to say, okay, there's an insurance scheme for me to say. There is this and this and this. This my welfare and this and this is being taken care of. Not allow athletes. Sometimes most of athletes go to prevention when they will take care of you. Some of them being taken care of by their family or being taken care of by their club. So I mean, all the not just like keep on promise and now there's some unpleasant story we are beginning to hear around him or do not confirm. I even hear that so even some of his predecessors, his backroom staff, and some of his personal aid have been beginning to lobby here and there, all joining his team. For me, we urge him to have his own way. There's nothing wrong to learn from your predecessor. You need to learn from the mistake of the past, and you can want to create your own path. But in as much as you are trying to learn from your predecessor, you should know how to draw the line.
Exactly.
Because at the end of the day, if you fail, it is John Ennon that will fail. And Nigeria don't want anybody to fail. Don't want anything to fail because sport has suffered a lot of backdrop. So we all know instead of to reduce talking, this visiting here and here, he should concentrate and begin to and get the job done. Because even in his absence, within the 3 months, we admitted here that even the farmers who stay in the absence of the minister, we may see the result.
Exactly. And one thing again when you talk about sports, because all these welfare insurance schemes, one thing we shouldn't forget is this will involve funding. And one major challenge the sports industry have faced in Nigeria is funding. Don't forget that our Paralympics team, have not been able to travel for the championship. Why? Because of funds. So when ministers always come, sports is not like other ministries where they give huge allocations and all of that. And before most ministers even settle down to see how they can create avenues to see how revenue flows, your tenure is already up. So when you're making all these plans, you should bear in mind that funding has always been a major issue in the industry.
Yes, and also, unfortunately for sports, that sport ministry is one of the ministries that don't have any parastatal that can generate revenue.
Revenue, exactly.
So there's no any revenue internally that coming out. Rather, what you only relies on the budget from the federal government to solve problems. Unlike some of the ministries, full either parastatal or the other are revenue generating agencies, but sports don't have any revenue generating agency under it. But even some of the parastatal and facilities that are supposed to be self-funding, unfortunately, we turn them to another different thing. For this time, like national stadium, like the stadium who have here and there, supposed to be an avenue for revenue generation, supposed to generate revenue for themselves, but rather we also rely on government to bring money to maintain those things. And just like you say, if you are promising to that we are going to do this, we are going to do this, we are going to do that, you definitely have to look inward. The league we have supposed to be self-funded and have the money. In some cases, the league are also crying that let government come to their aid, and which is not supposed to be so. So, Mr. Minister should do his job diligently well. Yes, obviously there are some insurance organizations, insurance bodies that want to partner with the ministry for image laundering, for media hype, and for all those things. But you need to give guarantee. Provide a enabling environment that will allow those insurers and all those individuals to come in. In other outside the world that we are having athletes have all this insurance scheme, all those things. They don't have to here, they have only single here. It's because there's enabling environment that allow those things to move easily. The past minister of sport, the immediate past minister of sport, came with a whole lot of policy. Sport industry policy, this 10-year master plan, all those things, these are also just a doctrine. But how implementation is always a problem.
Exactly.
So ministers to look at the policies and the documents that have been federal committee that have been given. Look, you have enough within yourself. To take your time, look at all those things and adopt the one you can adopt and implement it.
All right, Sport Orbit will return after we return from this break, so join us then.
Be part of our brand. Leadership for God and country.
All right, welcome back from that break. It's still Sports Orbit. Now to some foreign news now, where Super Eagles midfielder Alex Iwobi has revealed the reason behind his move from Everton to Fulham on final day of the transfer window. Fulham paid £22 million, including add-ons, to secure the services of the Super Eagles midfielder. And of course, according to Iwobi, he said Marco Silva, who incidentally was his former coach at Everton, who actually brought him to Everton before he was sacked, said played a great part in bringing him to Fulham. Said Silva had discussed the project at Fulham, and for him it seemed attractive enough, and he decided to make that switch from Everton to Fulham. Well, good move if you ask me, of course, especially when you consider how Everton has been in the last, I mean, even last season, he will be testified to. It said last season was one of his worst seasons as a footballer because, I mean, having to go back-to-back seasons, fighting for relegation like that, I think is what, I'm sure when this offer came, he didn't even waste time because already as the season has started, already Everton looks like they want to continue from where they stopped. And if they're not careful this time around, they might not be too lucky.
Yeah. Yeah, even me as one as a compatriot, I feel relieved for Iwobi. It's one of the surprise move in the deadline. One of the surprise
deadline moves,
in the final deadline of the transfer window. Nobody expected it. There was not even any room to that influence. It just come as a shocker.
Exactly.
And just like you see, it's like a bird who wanted to fly. And the moment you see you bend down to carry a stone. So he without wasting time, he just flew away. And that's how, so it's like Iwobi has just been playing inside him quietly. But let the God will be done and let's overcome from nowhere. Yes, in terms of pedigree, in terms of record, you see Everton has a name compared to Wolfham. But just like but in the last 3 seasons, it has been tough and tough. It has been tough and tough for Everton. We go back to back fighting for season for relegation. And I'm happy that he feel a bit relief not to be in the same foot this season. And then Fulham too, if you look at their Fulham this season, that's what to me, as an average team, they have started well. Compared to Everton position. The last weekend they held Arsenal to a surprise. Arsenal has to fight hard to draw them even at Emirates Stadium. So it's an opportunity for Wobi, and I believe that for him, to me, and the way he feels, it's an opportunity for him also to relax himself and to see himself. They got a whole lot of us. He had a view of that he was coming to someone with a lot of potential as an Arsenal player, where he make his debut at Arsenal. But unfortunately, how he even was offload from Arsenal, it was a surprise for everyone, but nobody saw it coming. Went to Everton, and for Everton, we were expecting to hit the ground. But unfortunately, yes, even as much as the performance in Everton may not be too bad, because sometimes he came up to rescue the team, put on some fantastic performance. But now that he's at the forum, I hope, and having worked with Steve Lewis before, he should know better and what he's doing, and I believe that he will be able to fit in perfectly with Fulham and see him excel in the Fulham together.
Of course, to some other PPL news where Man City are set to offer Erling Haaland £600,000 a week in wages. Of course, the English champions, of course, there have been rumors of him doing a sensational move to Madrid, and City are trying ahead of time to start to ward off potential suitors. Of course, the Saudi big guns also are out there looking for who to pounce on, and even before his contract ends, a new contract is about to be tabled for Haaland to ensure that they keep him at the top. It just goes to show how important he is at the project at Man City.
Yeah, I think there's nobody as important at Man City as Haaland. Even Guardiola will do that his job is not as it's even important as Haaland, the job at Man City. And if you have somebody crucial, I think all you need to do is to tie him down and to ensure that he didn't slip off your finger. Even as much as I believe that with Saudi money, if the Saudi league, if they let them pack the whole money in the whole world, or let them pack the whole resources in Saudi Arabia, and table before Haaland will not accept any move to go to Saudi League, not at this crucial peak of his career. But club like Real Madrid, obviously, is a dream of every player to play in Real Madrid. No matter either you like it or not, it's because of the pedigree and the name that the Madrid has entered the team. Every dream of the players, no matter how you do that, and once the Madrid knock the door, you'll be willing to open the door. And in order to stay there off, not to dare come around, is what Man City is trying to lay all the fence around Haaland. And we should look at that money. I think, but I'm sure you are blaming yourself why you're not able to take into this football.
Well, we can start go and
For £600,000 just for a
can
week.
still go and take down my boots and see if I can get back into shape again.
Well, it's really I want just look at that money, £600,000 just for a week for somebody to just think Iran let that game. And you think that week it's on week he may not even play ball.
Yeah,
But
sure.
6,000 will bring in this account, give him, but you make a mistake.
Well, all right. So other news now, of course, Sergio Ramos, of course, currently a free agent, is in advanced talks to return to Sevilla. Recall that was his initial club before he went to Madrid in 2005 as a 17-year-old. I remember then too, it was a record transfer. Then I think 30 million pounds Madrid paid then for a 17-year-old Madrid. But I mean, it goes to show what they saw in him, and he went on to spend 16 years at Madrid. But of course, the likes of Ramos, his career gradually winding down. So maybe he might just want to just have a kick around with Sevilla before he finally hang his boots.
It's not gradually winding. The career has already winded after 16 years at Madrid, and he actually, whatever Madrid put on him, invested in him, he actually repaid them more in trillions. And even last season when he moved to PSG, he signed a 1-year contract with the PSG. I was expected him to, even at the PSG, they really play. He didn't even really come on to play any significant role for PSG. It clearly showed that the PSG is what a sign of 1-year contract. They believe that if he improves or if there is sign of he's still up there as Ramos, they will send the contract. But the fact that the PSG are not even discussing anything clearly shows that he was not able to give them what they want. He has out of the contract since July. But I'm even surprised that the Saudi Arabians are not either they're not thinking of Ramos or even the MS League, the American from the American side. Nobody think of it. But for me, the perfect, even as I was returning to Sevilla to La Liga, the perfect time for him to go is to go to Saudi Arabia, just like the like of Karim Benzema has done, to make some more money or move to the MLS League. But returning to
it's not an attraction for him. Maybe he just wants to, because
what
what we understand, he was actually born in Sevilla, so
he was born in
hometown
Sevilla, but
so
with his age and with injury problem, returning to Sevilla is to me just another time to go and see them on the bench. Well,
of course, I mean, at his level, there's nothing anymore to prove.
There's nothing
I
anymore.
mean, he has won it all. From the World Cup, the Euros, he has won it all.
Yes, personally, there's nothing for him to prove, and there's not anything that he wanted to achieve. That's why I'm saying it's for me, in my view, it will be an opportunity for him to make more money going to retirement than to go to a PSG, a Sevilla that is more determined to win something. No any coach will bring somebody like him and he does not give anything. He will definitely sit on the bench. So if you seek my opinion, seek my advice, after just young man, why can't you just go to Saudi Arabia and make more money, or where you can start with a full cash in your account?
All right, we'll go straight to some results of matches played over the weekend. Of course, we'll start from the EPL. We have full results of all the matches. We can have that, of course, but the match everybody was looking forward to was the Arsenal versus United. Interesting game. It was a match that had so many twists and turns, but in the end, at the point, it was looking like it was going to end all 1-1. But just another 4 minutes before the end of the match, and everything turned around, and it was Arsenal who emerged victorious 3-1 in that one. Of course, other matches also for Chelsea also not finding their form. Looks like where they left up last season, in spite of buying over, I don't know if they're up to 48 players. Chelsea are still not finding it easy to when it comes to getting the needed results. For Liverpool, it was 3-0 over Aston Villa, then Crystal Palace 3-2 over Wolverhampton Wanderers. It was in that one. So, of course, match with 4 still early days, and as it stands on the table, yes, Man City already clearly on top with 12 points, followed by Tottenham, Liverpool number 3, while West Ham are currently in 4th position. But basically, of course, as it goes along, we know how these tables change. But for Man City having an early lead, I mean, like Roy Keane clearly said, he said, look, for him, as long as he's concerned, Man City are going to win the league for the 4th time in a row this season. And you won't really argue much with him, really, if you see how Man City have started. Don't forget that last season they had to come from behind, but this time they are even starting to lead. So I think it should be really scary for the rest of the chasing pack.
Yeah, it is really scary
Yeah.
the way they have started to 4 victory. 4 victories so
Yeah.
far, scoring a total of it's about 11 goals so far. Just consider mind just to go. It really show how determined they are. And they, just like the last season, they have to even at the later stage before
exactly.
they're able to recover and then to overtake us now. But it doesn't mean that he who started the race first
No, at all.
will finish at the finish the race first. But you may start well and at the same time ended poorly. So in as much as Man City has the capacity, has what it takes in terms of from every replication, whatever any angle you look at, they have it to retain the title. But it's not yet impossible. It's not yet impossible for other teams to also challenge them for the title. It's obviously the likes of the Chelsea, Manchester United, Liverpool, and Arsenal definitely will not just let Chelsea have Liverpool have their way easily run to the end of the season. Definitely they are going to collapse in the there's high expectation on them. They have 3 titles to defend. Defending Champions League title, defending the FA Cup title, and defending the league title will add more pressures to you. And definitely like as the league go on, it's too early to definitely collapse again. But if you look at the Ronki who are experienced in this field, know what to say. Definitely you know want to argue with him, and obviously you don't need to argue with him because every signal concentrated to the fact that what is likely is same. But it's still, to me, it's still early day. We have 38 matches and 4 matches played so far. So there's a long way to go. And if you look at the way they listen, like Arsenal mind from the start to start from there. Yesterday it was nobody saw it coming that Arsenal is going to win that match. Manchester United started with scoring the first goal from Rashford, but within the goal only lasted for 1 minute, and then the captain Arsenal replied back, and after everybody had returned to their strength, they are going to see a point.
In fact, a point the game was even beginning to be very boring.
They are going to sell a point 1-1. Then surprise one came from Rice, and then to me it's a fantastic one for Rice yesterday. Remember he warned that nobody should place more expectation on him because of the money they have to acquire him from West Ham. But without go yesterday, that has eased some pressure from him, and definitely improve for him. And then Jesus also have not scored goal in a long time. Also came in. To me, I don't know what really happened to mine. At that last 1 minute, and then they consider that 4-2 goal in the quick one.
I think after that goal was ruled for offside, I think maybe they switched off or something. Yeah. And
I think Ten Hag, yes, he has done a fantastic job so far. But you need to also talk to his players. In football, it's all about it's supposed to be 100% concentration throughout the game. Because at any time you seize off, you pay for it.
Of course, due to some red cards, some yellow cards, some of the first starting defenders were having, he had to pull the likes of Martinez out, for caution's sake, and brought in Maguire, brought in Johnny Evans. So of course that had an effect on the defense, because once those changes come in, I began to notice that there was a lot of pressure on the defense, and for a Maguire who is lacking in confidence, Johnny Evans just coming back.
A lot of pressure for him.
Exactly.
Bringing Maguire to me was even a mistake on the part of the hand. No matter how you should have allowed those players to remain there than to bring Maguire, because Maguire has already lost confidence. Even the Liverpool, the fans are no longer interested to even stay him. So you compare the whole way yesterday. And then for Chelsea, I don't know. It's like Chelsea. Some of us maybe we need to apologize to Graham Potter and Lampard, because we are accusing Graham Potter that he's only have what to take to manage Chelsea. That's why all the stars around him. Pochettino's who will feel he has all the magic, has everything. It's like there's a endemic problem in Chelsea that needs to be improved. Because we can't have such qualities, all the money spent almost 3 billion pounds within the year, and yet we are struggling. And from the way I've seen Chelsea in these first 4 matches, even in the Calico, you see how they struggle to beat AFC Wolf So Chelsea, from the way I've seen Chelsea through this season, Chelsea is going to struggle all throughout the season, except something magic happens.
All right. With that, we call it a day on today's edition of the program. Tomorrow we'll be back again with another exciting episode. Do join us once again, 4 p.m. at Nigerian time. Salifu, thank you for being in the studio today.
Thank you.
Until we come your way tomorrow again, do have a wonderful time. My name is Afa Acho, and it's bye for now.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.